Hoge, what's your best and worst, buddy? What do you got, pal?
Well, there was an absolutely beautiful throw from Caleb Williams to DJ Moore, and DJ made a nice over-the-shoulder adjustment to haul that in because it wasn't the easiest catch of all time for sure. Degree of difficulty was up there, but the ball was put in the right spot. Great throw, great catch, and you definitely want to see more of that between number 18 and number 2. So I thought on a day where, let's be honest, there wasn't a whole lot of great moments out there. That was slim pickings on the best, but that was easily, really, really good. It was probably one of the better highlights of camp overall. The worst for me, guys, I don't know how it could be anything else, but Teven Jenkins, he was out there in walkthroughs, he stretched, and then he didn't practice after that. And we didn't have a chance to talk to Matt Eberflus today. I don't think Matt Eberflus probably would have given us too much anyway, but we didn't get to talk to that coach. So we have no update on what that means. Was he sick? Did he get hurt? Regardless of what it is, when it comes to number 76, no one likes to see him out because he's really good and he has a lot of injury problems. So it's important that he's in there. And when he's not, you notice he's not because, he's arguably the best offensive lineman when he's, actually healthy and in there and playing. So, yeah, not good there with Teven Jenkins. So that would be my worst.
Gregory, you're up, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'll just go full meatball mode for my best and worst today. I mean, I'll have a theme here with my best and worst beyond the meatball, and that's about energy. And my best, I guess, because like Adam said, it was a very uneventful practice for the most part. So my best was the only sign of life I saw, and that was Austin Booker and Braxton Jones getting scrappy with each other. I mean, you don't want to see teams trying to rip each other's teammates trying to rip each other's heads off. But at the same time, it was just such a down practice. It was like, okay, it's about time somebody wakes up around here, and Booker and him, that's going to happen at practice. We saw Kyle Long and Akeem Hicks. It was like a rite of passage every year at training camp that those two guys would get into it. And both guys were pretty good football players too. So that spoke to their competitiveness and their desire to be great, not just on game day, but on the practice field. And that's what it takes to win in the National Football League. So you can call me a meatball all you want. But the fight I appreciated because it showed these guys care. They were broken up at some point and bygones be good bygones, but the first real dust up of training camp, because the Caleb DeMarcus Walker face off early in the year really wasn't much. This was a true fight where there was a little bit of I'm not going to say blows thrown, but they were certainly swinging on each other, and then they went to the ground. So first real fight of camp. That's my best. My worst is the other end of the pendulum. And that is today there was no energy at practice, 2.5 hour practice. And from my vantage point from the practices that I've been to so far, this was the lowest energy yet. And to me, if you're going to put the pads on, today was a padded practice. If you're going to put the pads on, then that's when the ramp up of intensity needs to take place. You're going to have plenty of practices throughout the offseason and here in August heading into the season where you're not in pads, and there's going to be a lower tone of energy. But today, on a Sunday, here, trying to get ready for week 1, not enough energy, guys. I'm sorry. And so if you want to try to say, if you're Matt Eberflus, like, hey, we're in game week mode now, there's a game coming up on Saturday, and we're going to start simulating week to week the way we do in the regular season. Okay, that's fine. Then play your guys on Saturday. Because today, in my eyes, in my opinion, if each practice is going to be an hour and 10 minutes long to start the first half where you're not doing much but walk through simulation stuff, doing the X's and O's, okay. But then that second hour and 20 minutes of practice that we're having where you're doing the 1-on-1, 7-on-7, 11-on-11s, taking as long as you are to get to that stuff, then I want to see the tempo picked up and the intensity picked up. When you get them pads on, those are precious reps to have yourself ready to play the Titans. So to me, my worst is not enough energy.
By the way, Beyond the Meatball is the title of Greg Bragg's upcoming memoir.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to reading it all in its full depth. And I do appreciate kind of right now the panic. borderline panic that we're getting from the Braggs corner right now.
Every time I have a criticism, it's defined as panic. I'm not panicking. This is my day-to-day observation.
I'm panicking.
It's not a panic.
I'm panicking.
Well, I also want to I want to nitpick a little bit, but I'm going to let Carm do his best and worst first.
Okay.
Just on what we saw today. Yeah.
Well, and when I say, by the way, that I'm panicking, I am concerned that training camp is looking very similar to how training camp started last year. So, but my best today, I'm going to shout out our guy Jalen Johnson. There was one ball where he was guarding Rome Odunze, and Rome had made a sweet move on him and had maybe a half step, even a full step on him, and Caleb bulleted the throw to him, and Jalen was able to recover and come over the top of Rome and bat it down. And, listen, in training camp, I want to see that ball complete. I'm looking at the offense, but the level of competitiveness from Jalen Johnson for a guy who just got paid and how good he is fundamentally guarding everyone day in and day out is impressive. So I think Jalen's had a great camp, and everything about him screams vet, and so I'm going to make him my best today. My worst, I shouted him out yesterday, and I am hoping for somebody to emerge and be the fourth wide receiver who can, impact the game at times during the season. Colin Johnson had a rough day today. He had 3 drops by my count, and that adds on to. And yesterday, I'm looking at him. He's making some sweet plays, and everybody's allowed to have it up and a down day. But look, for a guy like that to really break through, he's got to be consistent. And today was just not a good day for Colin Johnson. And Braggs, I would also, I debated putting in for my worst day, just the pace of play. It just feels lethargic. It's kind of hard to say that from our seats, but that's just kind of how it feels to me.
Well, and that's what I kind of wanted to nitpick a little bit and clarify, because I don't think it's fair to say, like, today's practice was still physical. Like they got at once they started going in team drills. It started with one-on-ones. Like, I understand the ramp up to get there, this hour-long like warm up they're going through is a little different. But I do think we need to be fair and say it was still a physical practice. I thought it was actually very physical. I thought there was times where I was worried, like how Terrell Smith was going up on wide receivers, basically doing the opposite of what Kevin Byard was talking about yesterday.
Yep, that's fair. Him and DJ Moore were battling more than a few times today.
So I still think it was a hot physical practice. What I agree with both of you on, though, is especially that word that you just said, Carm, like lethargic. Like it could. Those are two different things. Like, you still have a physical practice, but it didn't feel like the energy, to your point, Greg, was maybe where it needed to be. So,
and maybe
I don't know. And again, that's our vantage point from the sideline. We were probably hot too. I didn't get as much sleep last night as I normally do. So, like, maybe we were lethargic.
Could be. And I guess the one thing that didn't make our worst today was the offensive line play. And maybe that was part of why it felt down in the dumps, because the offensive line play, yes, offensive line headline of our show is a concern with the injuries starting to mount up. But beyond that, the play of the offensive line, regardless of who's out there, hasn't been great. You had, blatant holds, on Javon Dexter that, they had to call plays dead. You had a couple botched snaps from the first team and the second team, a 2-minute drill that didn't go anywhere for the first team. You had their final 11-on-11 session, starts with a false start, has a fumbled snap, bad throws. They just never could get on the same page because their depth is starting to hurt a little bit on the offensive line because of the injuries. So then that caused, there not to be as many plays today, which is what adds to the energy of the day. I mean, like you said in your best, Adam, when you hit a deep shot to DJ Moore over the top on a little fade to the corner pylon route, and DJ lays out for a touchdown, that got everybody going. But those plays were few and far between. But, energy can also come from a good defensive play, and we didn't really see too many of those either. So it just across the board, who's making plays today? Not too many plays were made today in terms of splash. and that's what you're looking for. That's how you're going to win games, is making splash plays. Today, there wasn't as many of them. No, we're not sounding the alarm, but at the same time, Eberflus has to, go ahead, Mark.
No, I am sounding the alarm slightly. Listen, they got a day off tomorrow. Flus called this a big week. You can't control health, but I hope to, when they come back, and I get it. Like, look, you just had travel. You had the Hall of Fame game. You're coming back in. It's super hot out there. All the things. It's a long ass training camp. Started early. Like, guys are looking at their watches. Cole Kmet yesterday. Can't believe it's August 3rd and they got another 5 weeks of this before, the vets are ready to go right now. I get the grind, and it's a long season. But look, you do have the key component on your whole team is a rookie, and you need intensity in these practices to get him, along with Rome and everybody else, just up to speed. So when the bullets really do start flying, or when the games count, they're ready. And right now, to me, they do not look ready, or anywhere even close to ready, I would say.
No, I don't think they do either. And but that's the good thing. That's the good thing about it only being August 4th now, is they do have time.
We all silly like the mayor.